Hi, my name is Lorena, and I am proud to be Mexican. I was born to two Mexican parents, making me a first generation Latina. Being a first generation Latina is something that I hold very deeply and will always hold very deeply in my heart. It is something that I am also extremely proud of. Especially during these times, I think it is super crucial and super important for first generations, second generations, and even third generations to speak out and let people know that we are still here. We are allowed to take space, and we are proud of who we are and where we come from. And people before us who have put their lives at risk and struggled to get us to where we are right now, and for giving us the opportunities that we have. Yes, I was born into this culture, but it is a culture that I would choose constantly over and over and over again given the opportunity. There are some parts of my culture that are seen more widely and can be spotted away from afar from people who aren't from this culture. These include our foods, which I'll name a few. There's tamales, pozole, carne asada, menudo, mole, tacos, horchata, flan, and the list could go on. Our music is also widely known. These include corridos, bandas, norteño, cumbia, mariachis, and etc. Some of our most known traditions that are practiced almost worldwide are posadas for Christmas, Dia de los Muertos, Cinco de Mayo, Dia de Independencia, Dia de los Reyes, and etc. Even though these parts of our culture are seen practically everywhere and are expanding by the day, there are also some parts of our culture that are more hidden and more low-key. One of these is one that I love so much and I want to try incorporating more. Although it is seen mostly in the Mexican region and more over there than here. It is when we do our hairstyle in braids, trenzas. While we're braiding, we tend to, you intertwine ribbon into the braid. This is a form of a symbolization of our community or the individual's strength, identity, and family lineage. It is beautiful on the outside, and it is the meaning to it is even more beautiful. Another aspect of my culture that I think is beautiful, although it is not that often that I see it here, is mostly in the older generation of women. When women go to church, they oftentimes wear manteles, which are veils, which is another form of a symbol of showing one's dignity and humility, as it often tends to resemble the Virgin Mary, La Virgen de Guadalupe. One part of my culture that I think is something that, if it's not taken care of, it can quickly slip away, is our ability to communicate with each other. I have noticed as new generations arise, more of our Spanish is lost. Sometimes I think this happens because parents are too scared to teach their kids because they think they'll be seen as less or be perceived in a way, which is not true, but you never know what they're thinking. So I think majority of the time parents are scared, which is, a good reason. But I do think that at least while the kid is growing up, they should be taught basic human communication, and when they're older they can decide whether they want to speak it or not. But at least they'll have the knowledge in the back of their head of communication and to be able to hold a conversation. Holding a conversation comes back into play when you think of older generations. The older generations often don't really know English. So when a new generation and an old generation are talking to one another, if the younger generation doesn't know any Spanish, you can't really communicate, and it'll almost feel like you're talking to a stranger, even though they're part of your family, which is in a way really sad because there's some things that you aren't going to be able to say that you want to say. Thankfully, I had the blessing of being spoken to in Spanish since I could remember. It was practically my first language because it was all I was taught at home and all I was spoken to at home. But I know that's not the case for everyone. I just think it's a very special and intimate experience to learn your native tongue and be able to at least communicate or try communicating. I know there's some instance where people try to learn Spanish when they're older, which is beautiful in its own way because it feels like you're learning your culture for the first time, even though it's been you all along. All this to say is I think you should nurture, and protect your culture, whatever it is, because it's who you are at the end of the day. And sometimes words cannot be translated. Thank you.